Ever seen a hawk rip a Dula 3000 surveillance drone out of the sky like it's a chew toy? I have because I trained the hawk, and that drone belonged to the HOA president who was using it to spy on my wife's sunbathing. I'm not saying I started a war, I'm saying I finished it before she even knew the skies had rules and my squad had feathers. When Lisa and I moved into our quiet little HOA neighborhood just beyond the city limits, we were chasing peace. Some sunshine, backyard grilling, maybe a poker night with neighbors who kept to themselves. What we didn't bargain for was an HOA president named Janet. Yes, that's her real name, who ran the place like a boot camp, acting as if she were a 4-star general with binoculars fused to her face. Lisa's not the type to stir the pot. She's kind, creative, and way more patient than I am. On sunny weekends she'd stretch out on a lounge chair in the backyard, headphones on, lemonade in hand, soaking up the sun like anyone enjoying their own space. But a few weeks back, she came inside early from one of her sessions looking uneasy. "I swear something was watching me," she said, glancing over her shoulder. I chuckled. At first, our yard's got tall fences and thick hedges. No one's peeking unless they're perched in a tree with night vision gear. I figured it was a squirrel or too many crime podcasts, reassured her she was fine, and let it slide. That was my first mistake. 2 days later, I was brewing coffee in the kitchen when I heard a faint, mechanical whirring. I glanced out the window and caught a white quadcopter drone hovering over the backyard, its camera aimed straight down. It lingered a moment before darting off toward the houses behind us. My gut twisted. I bolted outside, but it was gone. Lisa joined me, wrapped in a robe, I sibly rattled. "Was that a drone?" That's when I knew we had a problem. I'm no tinfoil hat guy. I like tech, value privacy, and lock my doors, but this crossed the line. We decided to watch and wait, hoping it was a fluke, maybe a kid's new toy. That was mistake number 2. The drone returned the next day, and the day after that, buzzing in like a robotic voyeur whenever Lisa stepped outside. She started feeling like a caged animal. I rigged up some motion cams and high-angle lenses, and soon I had footage of the drone retreating to a beige colonial 2 streets over. Guess who lives there? Janet. Janet wasn't your average HOA tyrant. She handed out laminated guides on grass height, measured mailboxes, and scolded kids for chalk drawings. She held mandatory monthly meetings and once sent a 7-paragraph email about how wind chimes violate the auditory serenity clause. I marched over with my footage, aiming to keep it civil. She cracked her door, raised an eyebrow like I'd trespassed on sacred ground, and said, "Yes." I showed her the clip. "Janet, this drone keeps hovering over my yard. It's freaking Lisa out." I traced it. "Raise it yours." She didn't flinch. "It's HOA property," she said, as if that justified it. "We monitor for rule breaches. It's my right." "You're not the CIA, Janet. My wife's sunbathing on our private land." Her voice turned icy. "Perhaps she shouldn't be out there in such skimpy outfits where the community can see." I stared. "You mean where your drone can see?" She smirked. "Some of us have standards." That was her third mistake. I reported it to the cops, but they called it a gray area. Airspace laws are murky, and the HOA had some loophole-riddled paperwork, penned by Janet naturally, allowing inspections. Then she hit back, sending me 3 citations in a week. 1 for excessive bird activity, 1 for overgrown grass, and my favorite, non-compliant patio furniture, complete with drone-taken photos. That's when I stopped playing nice. Here's what Janet didn't know. I train birds of prey, hawks, falcons, owls for a living. I work in wildlife control, keeping nature in check at parks, stadiums, and airports. Got pigeons trashing your venue? I bring a hawk and they're gone. It's legal, licensed, and damn effective. Drones? Birds despise them. So I grabbed Stella, a red-tailed hawk with a 4-foot wingspan and a vendetta against anything that buzzes. She'd shredded crows mid-flight and once snatched a plastic bat from a tree. I spent 3 days training her to target drones, running drills with decoys. She caught on quick. Lisa and I set the trap. A sunny Saturday, her lounging out back. Within 10 minutes, the drone appeared. I signaled Stella. She shot up like a rocket. The drone tried to climb, but she was faster, tearing into it with talons that could shred leather. It crashed into the lawn, smoking. I scooped up the wreckage, dropped it on Janet's porch with a note, "Next time, I bring the falcon." She didn't respond, but the next morning, 3 new drones were circling my yard. There's a thrill in watching nature trump tech. When Stella smashed that first drone, I thought Janet might back off. I underestimated her stubbornness and her HOA budget. Overnight, she'd upgraded to a mini Air Force, 3 drones looping over my yard like I was hiding contraband lawn chairs. This wasn't about rules anymore, it was a turf war. Lisa was fed up too. She couldn't step outside without those mechanical pests hovering, so she stopped sunbathing and started closing blinds. That was it. My home wasn't a jail, and I wasn't letting Janet turn it into her personal panopticon. That evening I stood in the yard with Stella perched nearby, watching the drones dance. 1 hawk against 3 wasn't enough, I needed backup. Enter Rex, a peregrine falcon I'd rescued, fast as lightning and precise as a blade. Then there was Oscar, a hulking barred owl who moved like a ghost and stared like he knew your secrets. Oscar wasn't quick, but he was silent, perfect for night ops. Training them was easy. Drones buzzed, moved like prey, and crunched when caught. I tied treats to mock drones, used commands, and within days they saw anything hovering as dinner. I prepped the yard for the showdown: cameras, a clear field, even speakers blasting Ride of the Valkyries for effect. Saturday rolled around. Lisa set up a decoy sunbather, an inflatable dummy we dubbed Sunny, complete with sunscreen for realism. The drones swooped in, 1 low, 1 high, 1 circling. I unleashed Stella first, her wings cutting the air. Rex followed, a feathered blur. Oscar stayed back for later. The drones scattered, but Stella smashed the first into the neighbor's kiddie pool. Rex shredded the second's rotor, sending it into my hedge. The third almost escaped until Rex looped back and nudged it into Janet's yard, where it crashed beside her garden gnome. I lined up the wreckage, snapped a pic, and posted it to the neighborhood chat. HOA air traffic issue resolved. No further complaints expected. The group erupted, some laughed, others shared their own drone nightmares. Janet stayed silent, but that afternoon she stormed over, clutching a broken drone like a martyr. "You've gone too far. This is sabotage. I'll have you EVY Ted." I stayed calm. "You spied on my wife. I was doing my job. And I was doing mine, wildlife control." She glared. "I'll sue." I grinned. "Go for it. I've got permits, licenses, and video of your drones breaking FAA rules and peeking into windows." She stomped off, drone parts clattering. That night, a stealthier drone appeared, small, quiet. Night, VY Shaun equipped, hovering low near our trees. Oscar's time. He glided silently, snatched it midair, and dropped it in the leaves. I checked its SD card, footage of bedrooms, VYing rooms, even a bathroom window from multiple homes. Janet had gone full criminal. I backed it up, called my sheriff buddy Tom, a former client who owed me for clearing raccoons from his barn, and showed him. He whistled. "She screwed." I nodded. "This isn't about birds anymore. It's about privacy." Friday hit like a storm. The HOA board called a vote to oust Janet. She barged into the community center with a suitcase of papers, a laptop, and a presentation titled, "Why I'm Your Hero." Sunglasses indoors, scarf flowing, she reeked of desperation. Lisa and I sat in the back as half the neighborhood showed up, some with popcorn. One in a hawk-themed shirt reading Neighborhood Watch. Now with claws. Greg, a soft-spoken board member, opened. "We're here to address misuse of funds, unauthorized surveillance, and conduct unfit for a president." Janet stormed the stage, suitcase rattling, and launched into a tirade about her tireless SARE-VYC and drone safety program. The crowd groaned. "Safety," someone yelled. "You crashed one into my kid's party." She ignored them, projecting strategic aerial monitoring zones on the wall. Greg cut in. "You never got approval for these drones or the budget." Janet snapped, pointing at me. "That man's yard is a wildlife hazard, dangerous birds, illegal structures, and his wife." "Careful," I said loudly. She faltered. "I was documenting violations." "By spying on bedrooms and bathrooms?" Gasps rippled through. Greg called the vote. The eyes to suspend her were thunderous. She stormed out, suitcase banging like a retreating general. 3 days later, a hand-delivered letter arrived. Janet was suing me for property damage, emotional distress, and operating an unlicensed aerial defense system. I laughed. Lisa didn't. "She's serious." "She can try," I said, "but she won't win." I called my lawyer friend Sarah, a pro at weird cases. She once defended a guy who claimed his moat was art. She reviewed everything and grinned. "This is a slam dunk. I hope she takes it to court." A month later, we faced off in a stuffy courtroom. Janet strutted in with an ivory suit and a leather binder, her lawyer Cole fidgeting beside her. Judge Marshall, a gruff man with a perpetual scowl, presided. Cole argued I'd maliciously used birds to harass Janet's lawful duties. Sarah countered I'd legally defended my privacy with licensed Raptors. Janet played the victim, claiming she lived in fear of birds, then showed drone footage including a clear shot of Lisa sunbathing. The judge's frown deepened. Was this consensual? Silence. Sarah presented our evidence, Stella's takedowns, neighbor testimonies, FAA violations, and logs proving Janet's spying. The judge ruled. The drones were illegal surveillance. The birds, while unusual, were lawful. Case dismissed. Janet froze. We exhaled. The story exploded. Headlines like, Birdman beats HOA drone queen popped up. Neighbors threw a barbecue with drone-shaped cookies. Janet vanished, reportedly fleeing town. Spring brought calm. Lisa sunbathed again, the birds became local stars, and I started Raptor awareness weekends. One day, a clumsy drone appeared, not Janet's. Stella downed it. A teen confessed, terrified. We let him off with a warning. The neighborhood embraced the legend, even hosting a falconry day. That night, Lisa asked, is it over? I whistled to Stella, perched nearby. For now. If trouble returns, we'll be ready and airborne.